Hi, this is Joyce Farrell. Let's take a look at using an indexed file. In the early days of computing, all data had to be processed sequentially. This was due to the limitations of the storage devices that we had. For example, sometimes data was stored on punched cards, and the cards had to be read in order by a device called a card reader. Sometimes data was stored on reels of magnetic tape, and data records had to be read from the beginning of the tape through the end of the tape in some sequential order. A disk is a random access storage device. This means records can be accessed in any order. Think of a book. You can open a book to any page and start reading. It's a random access storage device. You're not required to read a book sequentially from page 1 through the last page. Records therefore can be stored in a physical order that's different from their logical order. Records in a disk are stored in some physical order. Perhaps when you hire employees, you store them in the order that you hire them, but with a random access storage device, you can access the records in a different logical order, perhaps in alphabetical order by last name of employee, or perhaps from the lowest salary to the highest salary. One way to accomplish this random access is to create an index. Here's a simple representation of a disk. A portion of the disk is reserved to hold an index. The rest of the disk has numbered locations. These are numbered 101, 102, and so on. A real disk would have many more locations with much higher numbers, but this is enough to get us started looking at an index. Suppose you hire an employee named Emily and you store her data at disk location 101. Now, besides her name, we'd probably store her salary and her hire date and her home address and phone number and some other things, but we'll just show her name here. She's stored at location 101. Then suppose you hire an employee, Brad, and store his data at location 102. You store Dawn, and she goes to 103, and perhaps Alan goes to 104. Then suppose Brad quits. If an employee quits, you can remove him from the index, but the actual bits that make up Brad's data can remain on the disk. When he's not part of the index, he just won't be accessed anymore when you process the records logically. Then suppose you add Carol to location 105, and so on. Let's suppose you write a program to find a record. You might issue a prompt, enter a name to find, and suppose the user types in Alan. Here's how you find the record. You would look at address 101, that's Emily, that's not Alan, so you'd look at the next available address, 103, that's Dawn, that's not Alan. Then when you look at 104, that is Alan. So you found a match, and you'd access randomly location 104 on the disk, and you'd output whatever data is there. In this case, we're going to assume there's a pay rate and an insurance code, but perhaps there's more. That's how you use an index to randomly access records on a random access storage device. Thanks for watching.